Wait,
no, it wasn't. We should all do that.
I wanted to be involved.
Like action, 1, 2, 3, action. Hey guys, thanks for tuning into this video today. We are going to have a conversation about collaborations and shooting and photography and modeling and videography and just how to use social media to your benefit and creating and working on your craft with proper courtesy and just answering some questions that you guys have submitted for us. So yeah, we're gonna start with intros. My name is Alex and I am a blogger.
I'm also Alex and I am an unsigned model / self-taught makeup artist.
My name's Laura. I'm a portrait and couples photographer.
And I'm Brandon. I'm an editorial photographer and a videographer.
Cool.
Yeah.
So that's a little bit about us.
Yes.
Yeah, just a little bit. And then we kind of want to touch on a few things that people have reached out to us about, things we've experienced ourselves. And I know for starters, just like when I started doing photography seriously and working with people told me to just like DM like models and creatives. And I said, that's insane. No one's going to want to meet me. That's so crazy. Like, how does that not, how does that not feel creepy? Especially like as a guy, just like saying that. But sure enough, it's, you know, as long as you do it respectfully and safely, you know, which is kind of like what we kind of want to open the floor to. Thanks, buddy.
I think definitely like you need to get over that fear of reaching out to people you want to work with, regardless of how many followers they have. Like the worst they can say is no.
Right.
So
say that they charge,
it doesn't.
You know.
I have even like a little template that I use before I DM someone if I want to reach out, saying what I do, what I would want to work with them for, and just kind of use my name and switch it around and then send it to whatever account I'm interested in working with.
Whenever somebody reaches out to me, say I like don't follow them, so like if I open the message, like they're not gonna see that I read it. I can at least like tap on their
Avatar.
name or their avatar and check out their page. Mostly what I look at is like the quality of their photos or like how they really edit them. I don't necessarily look at like how many followers they have at first.
Yeah.
Just because I've shot with plenty of photographers who were not like at 10K or 17 or even like 100,000 people following them, like minimal, and they've been excellent, professional, well edited, like photos and stuff like that.
Yeah, I think,
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. That's what
the follower amount does not dictate the quality.
No.
Yeah, there's not a
photos.
correlation there between
not
those
at
two
all.
things. But like there are also like extremely sketchy photographers who could like have bought followers and like you could see like, oh my God, they have like, I don't know, 50,000 people following them, but like their photos are weird, sketchy, not something you're comfortable with shooting. And that's completely okay to like tell a photographer, hey, you know, like your work's really cool, but I don't think I'm the model for you, or like this isn't really the style of photography that I'm wanting to shoot.
And that's kind of like the open dialogue. Like you gotta have with people because if there's no communication, and then like it's just gonna get really like messed up, and you're gonna expect something, they're gonna expect something different, and then like no one's gonna be happy, and like even how you were touching earlier, like on safety, like as a guy photographer, I try to make sure that whenever I do reach out to someone, I say like, hey, can we meet in a public place for coffee, whatever, like, and make it very clear that like, hey, like I want to talk about a shoot, I want to come here at this time.
This isn't a date, like I'm not trying to hit on you.
Professional meeting to get this out.
Very forward, and let them know that like I get it, like I understand, like being put in front of a camera is like you're sharing your vulnerability, you know, and and at the end of the day too, you're two random people and you want to make sure it's like safe for both parties.
Right. Like meetings, like you can either like figure out like, okay, this is where like we have some common ground. This is like some things that we're both inspired by. And that way you can create something great between the two of you. Because if I feel personally when I have shot with photographers that I don't vibe with or feel extremely awkward shooting with, it doesn't come out as well.
Yeah.
Like it shows through the photos and like
and those meetings like allow you to get comfortable and establish some sort of relationship between each other, so that way when you do shoot together you kind of know the little quirks and stuff.
Yeah, it's super awkward.
Yeah, and that being said, like I think that's a great idea to have like to meet with someone, but I've also like met photographers like same day of the shoot and like
just
clicked.
That's
like
usually
works.
what I do.
And like it works both ways. Like it's totally fine to go at either approach. I think that's a very professional way to be like, hey, these are my ideas, because like I feel like sometimes things get lost in translation with like sending mood boards or like any kind of inspirational stuff, or like I know you had the experience where someone wanted to do like the exact same thing.
Right.
Oh,
in a
they wanted
shoot.
To replicate
Like,
the
replicate
exact
everything.
replicate the photo. And
Right.
That's like,
Which is stealing
nah.
someone's art kind of to,
Yeah.
I mean, you can
All
definitely
cool
go for a
inspiration.
picture
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
inspo
yeah.
and having that kind of as your outline and something that you share with your photographer or model, like, hey, I kind of want to go for something like this because I really enjoy this art form, but maybe making it our own. And something from that, so basically all we're just saying here is like having an open, honest dialogue with your photographer or model before you actually meet so that you kind of know what is expected, what you're going for. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
And I think backtracking a little bit, like with the nudity stuff, like that's where I think the safety definitely comes in, because like, again, someone could just like want to shoot you on their iPhone, and that's not like a photographer to me. Like if they're not like professional, like they
Yeah, and have
they
this
just want your
equipment and-
nudes.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
yeah, like
Yeah.
Of course.
that's
course.
not out
There's
of
so many things that could go wrong.
Exactly.
If you
There's
don't have the information.
basically-
But you just have to talk. You
Yeah,
just
yeah.
have to say
Just
it.
talk.
And also
Communicate.
know
Do
how
your
legit
research.
they are.
Do
Yeah.
your
Exactly.
research.
Exactly.
And I think if because I know we before the video realized that a lot of us know other people and have all these mutual friends.
Right.
Like,
Exactly.
see if they've shot with other people
Other
before.
bloggers, other
Right.
photographers.
Yeah, maybe you can reach out to them.
models.
Check out
Yeah.
their website.
or see like what if your
Like, hey,
friends
how was
follow
this
them?
person? How was this photographer?
Exactly.
Like, what did you
like,
do?
do they have a bad rap or
Right.
something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
One thing we have to remember in collaborating is that both parties should be benefiting from
Oh,
the
yeah.
collab.
Right.
So if we're doing something and I want to have a shoot for like a sponsored post or something, and Laura's my photographer and she doesn't like how the photos come out, she just wasted her time because I'm not paying her. The whole thing, as we should reiterate with collabing,
Yeah.
is that it's unpaid work. It's two people coming together to kind of utilize each other's assets to build up a photographer's portfolio with a new face, for a model to get different, pictures or headshots. So just something that we've kind of had, even down to like our editing. You as a photographer, how you deal with that with your
Yeah.
clients versus collabing.
Okay, so I guess for collabing, I think it's very important if you are reaching out to a photographer as a blogger or a model or whatever, you definitely need to like that photographer's style. Like Alex mentioned earlier,
Yeah.
you look at the editing. Oftentimes, yes, it's free, but I won't do any extra editing for you just because you don't like the way the colors look. And it differentiates between like whether not knowing that person or knowing that person. Like Alex and I know her style's a little different than mine. Mine tends to be a little more desaturated, and her tends to be more vibrant colors and stuff, little pops of red and orange and stuff. So I'll edit another version for her, but that's because she's my friend.
Right.
But
and I
if
would
it's-
never ask that of someone that I don't know or I'm comfortable with, a photographer, because this is what's talked about before. Or
Exactly.
you're just respecting each other. Like if you are a model and you're asking someone to collab with you and you have all of this stuff that you want to be done with your photos, you should be paying that artist, because then that could be something that they're not going to use in their portfolio, and
Because
there's no collabing
and it's their
aspect.
direction and not the photographer's direction
Right.
or the photographer's style.
Totally.
Right.
So that's definitely important too. If I'm getting paid, then obviously, I'll make it more of a chore to say, okay, how do you look? How do you like the way you look in this photo? Let's sit down. Let's, see which poses were your favorite. Okay, you like X, Y, and Z. Okay, then I'll edit those photos for you. And okay, you want this color to pop out more. Then you kind of sit down and get more of a, okay, let's do this together. I remember you were a little nervous to tell me, hey, I wanted a little brighter.
Right.
Because we were just getting to know each other.
Of
And
course.
again, we were collabing, and that was kind of right of her because it was for free. And she's not going to tell me, hey, like, Laura, it's not that I don't like these photos,
Of course.
but,
But for the feed, especially
Exactly.
for bloggers, not just like a model that's showing all different pictures, but a lot of bloggers like myself take time in kind of planning your feed and
Yeah.
seeing like the colors, and even some people go as to having a little bit of one filter so that all of their pictures kind of have the same style. That's like a tip for people that are trying to blog and find more cohesiveness within their feed.
Right.
Once you figure that out, sure, if you feel comfortable with the person you're collabing with, then definitely mention that if the style is a little bit different. Another thing that I want to hit on is when you're doing collabs. For example, bloggers, sometimes they do sponsored posts. So for me as a micro blogger or micro influencer, if there's a product or a brand that I need to take a picture for example, like a free necklace or something, and I have to get a picture of this done. If I have over perhaps 10, 20,000 followers, and this company is now paying me to take a picture of this necklace to put on my feed, if I'm hiring someone or asking for a collab from a photographer to help me execute this task and vision for that company, and I'm getting paid from them, I should be paying the photographer that's helping me get that. That's just something like off the bat, courteous. There's a lot of bloggers that are getting paid for shots with different brands and items and then not giving that to the photographer. But that photographer, they might not necessarily use that photo of you in, holding this purse or this, whatever product.
Yeah.
And then
Wearing this outfit.
Right.
like-
What if they're not a fan of that vision? So within
Or
collabing,
even the brand that they
or
need
the
help
brand
with.
right, exactly. So that's really important, and I just wanted to touch on that so that people know, like, yes, collabing is free, but there gets to another level when it's about respect and artistry and time. You're using people's time, and honestly, time is the most valuable currency in the world, so we should be respecting that of everyone.
Yeah.
No, definitely.
And I think that like going off of that, when you are like talking about editing, I think one of the most like disrespectful things I've ever like, and it's come across like my Instagram stories recently, like the model or person who like receives the pictures, like editing the shots that they receive.
Yes,
Oh.
you guys can probably tell.
I was gonna say like that just
Yeah.
popped into my head as far as like
My
respect
heart.
goes.
Yeah, that's
like
a-
it's extremely rude.
That's
like,
definitely like a big no-no, just so you all know.
Please don't.
Like, especially in collaborating, not even like a paid shoot. Like,
Yeah,
right.
if you're
exactly.
working together, like, that is so, like, because it's not even like the hours that, like, my photographer friends, like,
Yeah, with
the times that they spend,
yeah,
like,
I mean, the
editing.
shoot isn't the only job. I think
Exactly,
a lot of
that's-
people forget that.
The
Like,
editing is the whole
I
other.
shoot
Yeah.
for a good 1 or 2 hours with someone, and then I go to a coffee shop the next day and spend maybe 5 hours editing that shoot.
Exactly.
Because
It's
I
exciting.
fix things and I want things to look a certain way.
And the amount of, like, photos that you take during a shoot,
Oh,
and then
to go
weeding
right,
out the
each
ones
take
that,
down the
like-
bad
Oh,
ones.
calling, yeah. It's,
and then,
There's-
like,
yeah.
If
It
you
takes
also wanted
so
to
long.
mention, like, how do you guys feel
So
about
that's-
being asked for the raw photos from
getting or receiving raw and unedited photos, those are like a huge no-no. Like, don't, like, I've only ever had a few people ask me that, and like, I don't know, it's just so up in the air, and it's like something you need to have a conversation with, but most likely the answer is no, because it's like taking the unfinished work from the person that like you sought them out, either you sought them out or they sought you out, as a photographer, and it's like we were saying earlier, it's half the job.
It's like having all the ingredients for a meal and not cooking it.
Yeah, seriously, like, it's so like,
this is true.
yeah, it's
It is
just like,
very good
Yeah.
metaphor.
yeah, it's just like
analogy,
you should
whatever.
like the photographer will physically take the photos as well, but then like the other side of it, the other art form does come through in the editing.
Yeah, there definitely needs to be clear direction with that, and telling them. And I mean, if you want to get professional, there are like contracts for that.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
Yeah,
of course.
If you have in your contract, hey, you're not allowed to edit my photos. You're not allowed to do A, B, and C with whatever.
Yeah. of
Oh,
course.
one thing on that. Why don't you guys talk about how important it is if your photo gets used and your tag being credited with the brand?
Ooh.
Oh
'Cause
yeah.
we talked
No,
about that.
that's super huge. I mean, it's just like
Yeah.
any work that anyone does should be credited
Right.
in any regard or capacity.
Yeah.
And
So
it's
if
like-
I have a post with something, and let's say like one of the Orlando Instagrammers pages reposts a picture of me as the blogger, and they say photo Tipsy Soul.
Yeah.
But I had a photographer take that. I'm gonna DM that person that reposted
Yeah,
my photo
yeah.
and say,
I've
hey,
had
can
someone
you edit?
comment.
Right.
I've had someone like the blogger comment my name in
So,
the thing,
right.
so that way I could see it
of
and
course.
just kind of like reach out.
And kind
Yeah.
of tell them like,
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah,
give
and-
give credit where it's due. It's two people
for
in a
sure.
collab. The person behind and in front is making a total image.
And that definitely happens a lot with Instagram
Yeah.
because there's so many names, so many handles and stuff. So
Totally.
I mean, vice versa. Like if it's your photo and you're not being credited, again, don't
just
be
good
afraid
practice,
to
like,
reach
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
just do
Yeah.
it.
I mean, I did
take
a-
ownership of your work.
Yeah, I did a bridal shoot one time, and the photographer made a point to send me like the location, the boutique that gave us the dress, the hair and makeup artist, like
Yeah,
everything,
everyone involved.
so that I could just copy and paste it into like my bio
caption.
caption. Thank you. It's been a long day. and I wouldn't have to worry about like missing anyone as far as crediting goes, because I think that does get lost a lot,
Yeah, it does.
especially
I've
when
even
it's
had it-
being
yeah. I've even had it the other way where it's someone else's photo and I get tagged. And I'm like, oh, I didn't take that photo. So
Interesting.
yeah, I'll DM them and I'll be like, hey, like, that's not me on your post. And I'll comment on the post with who did take the photo. And I'm like, yeah, so-and-so did do a great job taking that photo.
this is
And that
great.
way
Basically,
they
give
can
the credit
see-
where it's due.
Exactly.
yeah.
So, what is a tip that you have if you're kind of lacking chemistry with the model or blogger that you're working with, or even a couple that you're shooting with for your wedding stuff? If you don't really know how to, if you just feel awkward energy, how do you take on directing and ownership of that situation in a photo shoot?
Okay, so as a portrait and couples photographer, you definitely need to have direction with your shoots and make sure it's going in the direction you definitely want it to go. So if you're working with a single subject like a blogger or model, and usually what I do is ask them if they're comfortable in front of the camera first. Because some, like, I don't know about you guys, I don't know if you prefer direction or if you don't prefer direction.
I don't prefer direction.
Okay.
I just like to do pose, grab them all and see what works. What about
Okay.
you?
Depending on the shoot and like who I'm working with, sometimes like I don't need direction, but other times like it is very helpful for me. Like
Yeah.
I'll always like take that feedback and be like, yes. There have been
Put me in
times
that
where
position.
I've been like,
Seriously.
I've literally like tilted my head enough and they've been like, I was just about to tell you to do that. So
Yeah.
it really depends
Yeah.
on who you're working with.
Yeah, I think just having that open dialogue will definitely make each party feel more comfortable because, you know, as a photographer looking through the little lens, it's like, okay, I think it'd look better if you look to the left, and you have to just be willing to be open and honest and
Yeah.
say that
Right,
to your
totally.
subject.
Right.
And with couples, it's a little more complicated just because they kind of have their own little personality being a couple, and it's not
Find-
so
find
like
it.
one-on-one. Exactly.
Yeah.
Get the
So,
goofiness out of them.
I think it's definitely
Yeah.
important to sit down with your couple before the shoot and get to know
Oh,
them. Ask them how they met, you know, what their favorite memory together was. Like, just really get to know them, hello, as a couple. And that way you get to know their little, like, quirks and what they like about themselves and just funny things about them. Because if they're a goofy couple, then, okay, it's easy. They're going to be so, like, transparent on the camera and they're going to be goofy and laughing and candid. But sometimes you get those couples that are like, we've never done a photo shoot together.
Then you're like,
You know, so you're
What I
like,
do.
Yeah.
Newbies.
yeah, and then they just kind of stand there like holding hands, smiling, and it's a little awkward.
Yeah.
So definitely like do your research, have poses ready. You know,
Don't eat my chips.
take control of the shoot and don't be afraid to tell them what to do.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, because a lot of times too, they're probably just like in their heads so much. Like,
Exactly.
They're overthinking everything. So if you can just break it down, like, look, like it's not that serious. Just calm down. Like we're here to have fun, and then like just let them know because I don't know if there's like some sort of like mysticism, like oh, it's a photo shoot. Like
Exactly.
Yeah.
they get in their heads a lot. So it's just like.
Yeah,
And the photos
and
don't
I
look
often
good.
have like the Instagram feature of the save button. I save so many poses and stuff.
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
And
it's
show them
great to
some
get
ideas.
those candid shots,
Yeah.
but sometimes people don't know how to be candid or they fake laugh, and you don't want them to fake laugh. You want them
It
to be
looks
genuine.
fake. Yeah.
So, you know, it's okay to pose. It's okay to tell them, hey, I want your arms around his neck and I want you to twirl her or dance or something. And that makes for beautiful photos.
Between like models and like the photographers is very important, but I also think like between the models and if like there's a hired MUA or makeup artist, for those of you who don't know what that means, yes. I think it's really important, like, I mean, as a model who has done her own makeup for almost every single shoot she's ever had, I've never had to deal with like a hired makeup artist on a shoot other than maybe like twice or 3 times. If you don't like how you look and you're not comfortable with how you look, I think it's very important to be like, can you fix my lipstick a little bit more? My lips look really thin here, and I know that's not really the shape that like maybe you would give them.
Nothing wrong with voicing your
If
opinion.
you're
Yeah.
collabing.
If you're collabing, because there's a difference between like the photographer and the makeup artist meeting and having a vision and then picking you as the model because they think that you fit that vision perfectly.
Right.
Then you kind of have to respect that. You can't be like, oh, well, I don't like this like crazy makeup I have on. Like this
Right.
isn't what and that's kind of like, well, that's not really, we're not going for simple. Like
Yeah.
we have this abstract idea or whatever they have planned out.
Right.
I think that like But if it's something like an editorial kind of thing, or like, I know that it does translate into the photos if like a model doesn't feel comfortable in
you
the
can
makeup
tell.
that she's
Totally.
wearing,
Easily, yeah.
or like if you don't feel pretty, like, or beautiful, whatever, like if you don't feel comfortable in the makeup that you're in, like it will come across in the photos. And then back to like the whole collaborating thing, if you don't use those photos,
Right, it's a waste
you
of
just
time.
wasted your
Waste of
time.
time.
So
Yeah.
definitely
So,
just, I feel like the
the
key from
openness.
this is just being open when you're having a collaboration and stating like what you both are desiring and coming together for. What are you trying to get from that person's talent and asset, and what can you offer them? And make sure that you're really stating this before the actual photo shoot takes place. Then there will be so much less awkwardness. You're avoiding like just like disrespect or potentially just like sketchy situations, communication with
Yeah.
people. And don't be afraid, like as we said in the beginning, to DM people. Like if you are a blogger or model, such as myself, who doesn't have like really funds, you know, for photo shoots right now in the game, like you can reach out to people. It doesn't matter the amount of followers. If they like your look, they will want to shoot with you. If it's a photographer that's totally on their business, that's not doing free shoots, you have to respect that as well too.
Exactly.
And pass on and go on to the next one and try and find people to work with you. There is a really cool database and platform called The Hub, and you can actually go on, create a profile, apply, and it goes by your zip code and city location. So you can look up creatives and search them in your city to find photographers, models, videographers, and there are stylists a part of that as well.
Yeah.
So I've been using this for the past few weeks, and it's been really sick to just meet up with people. This
We just
isn't.
went to a meetup yesterday.
We just went to a meetup yesterday, Brandon and I met some people, and this isn't for paid work. This is a collab database. So if you guys are looking to start collabing, definitely check out The Hub. I have my referral code in the link below. Yeah, and we're just glad that you could be part of this conversation. If you guys have any other questions, we're totally down to get together
us
and do
know.
another video.
Or like,
Yeah.
feel free to reach out to
anyone.
any of us
Any of us.
individually. All of our handles will be
Give us-
somewhere
check us
under
out.
here
Give
in
us a
the
follow.
description box below.
Yeah.
And feel free to collab with us.
Collab with us. So thank you so much for your time, and we hope to hear from you soon.
Otis says collaborate with us too.
Bye guys.